Hi friends, I am Chandrasekhar here again. This time I would like to talk about planets and how they give their results. The reason is there is a lot of confusion about how planets actually deliver their results. The primary reason is that planets have different type of roles to play at different times and in different area of the Jataka's life. So there are natural malefics and natural benefics. Then there are functional malefics and functional benefics. You also have planets in transit, and then there are planets who are karaka or indicators for certain areas of Jataka's life. Generally, the question that is asked by many astrologers is about how they would manifest. The assumption is if a planet is Yoga Karaka, he will always give good results. If a planet is Shubha, he will always give good results. Now, though this is not exactly wrong, we have to look at areas where they operate. See, natal chart is more about the impact of planets as benefics or malefics in the houses that they occupy and the houses that they aspect. Then, as far as dashas are concerned, we look more for the functional nature of a planet. So, a functionally benefic planet in its dasha shall give benefic results. This has to be understood properly. Again, the exceptions and the additional rules about strength of bhava operate insofar as the natal chart is concerned. So, for example, if the lord of the lagna is aspected by the lagna lord, then the lagna bhava, the first bhava, is powerful. If he is aspected by Jupiter, the bhava becomes powerful. If it is aspected by Mercury, it becomes powerful. Similarly, malefics aspecting those bhavas would generally harm. Now the question comes is if a planet is naturally malefic and aspects his own Rashi in a particular bhava, then generally what happens is the person represented by that bhava suffers to some extent, whereas other indicators of that bhava grow, those which are not physical. So let us understand this. When we say that because a bhavesh is aspecting the bhava, he gains power, it has always, like any rule, there are exceptions, and here also we find the exception. Jupiter occupying a bhava does not protect the bhava, is a principle, though many have different opinion about it. But being a benefic, will it harm very heavily? No, he will harm in a manner which is not exactly a violent manner of harming that bhava. Similarly, Saturn occupying a particular bhava protects that bhava, which means it will not harm that bhava. We have to first understand this part of it. Now, this is as far as the natal chart goes. Then comes the functional nature of the planet, where the trine lord, especially if they also happen to be the lord of the squares, are called yoga karaka. So their dashas will give good results. That doesn't mean that they in transit will always act in a good manner, which is generally the understanding of astrologers most of the time. Now the third part comes is what happens in transit, because see, natal chart as a matter of fact indicates the potential that a Jataka has. It also shows the resources that he has, the positives and the negatives of his personality. Whereas dashas indicate periods when those particular planets, either harming or damaging the chart or giving strength to the chart, will give good results or bad results. And the third part is transits. During transits, the planets provide the final trigger for any event to actually occur at a particular point of time. So, in transit, what happens is the malefics will generally cause harm in the house that they transit, and also the house that they aspect. This also is applicable to Saturn, who generally occupying a bhava does not harm that bhava. Again, with Jupiter, because these are the planets where we apply the exceptions in the natal chart. In case of Jupiter, wherever whichever bhava he occupies in transit and trines, because his aspects are always trine aspects, and aspects by the seventh house, those bhavas will have something good happening there. This also, of course, applies to Mercury and Venus, who are benefics. And again, for Mars, Mars would harm the bhava he is occupying in transit and aspecting by fourth and the eighth house, besides the seventh house aspect in the transit, because that is how he aspects, his influence goes there. Now, having understood this, we have also to understand that Mahadashas of planets are of long duration. For example, for Venus it can be 20 years and nothing is static for 20 years. So then you go to the next dasha, next level of dasha, that is Antardasha, then you go to the Pratyanta dasha, and then having understood how dashas operate and how the functional nature of the planet will manifest, we should come to a conclusion whether whatever is happening, whether by aspects or by presence of the transit planet, is it going to give you good results or bad results. I think this short soliloquy of mine, if you can call it, should be sufficient to understand basically why many a times we find that X planet is my yoga karaka and it is not giving me good results, or Y planet is functionally malefic and yet gives good results to me in its dasha, or sometimes that X planet is supposed to be naturally benefic but he harms me in his dasha. So you have to separate all these three parts. The natal parts, planets will behave in a different fashion. As far as their own dashas are concerned, they would manifest in different ways, because they just indicate good or bad happening at that particular point of time. And in transits, again, they will manifest in a different manner. You have to collate all these things together and then come to a conclusion. So I think this should be enough. And then before I take your leave, because last lecture was pretty long, I'm sure the listeners might have been now bored to listen to a 12-minute long speech of mine. So before we leave, we have also to understand the malefics in natal chart. If they are doing something which is by their very nature what they ought to do, they might not harm the bhava that they occupy and aspect. So for example, Mars in fourth, if that person is a fourth house, is also house of graduate level education or the qualified level of education, which can give you the career. So if that person, because Mars is an active planet, it has a lot of energy. So if that Jataka is a player and is a player of good repute and puts in his efforts into that, or is studying for technical subjects which come under the domain of Mars, then you may not find that his graduation career has suffered any setback. Though there would be setback, but it would be of a very minor scale. So this is how we have to look at planets. Or like if Saturn is there and then you take a course which is connected with Saturn, then that course by its very nature will be of a longer duration. So there would not be much harm to the there would not be much delay in going through completing his graduation or whatever is the qualified examination required to get a career in the country in which he resides. Having said that, I hope you like this, and let me have your reactions. And then I propose that my next lecture would be, or speech or whatever you want to call it would be on bhavas and how the bhavas manifest and how we should look at it. Thank you very much. See you again. Bye.